Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Building Better Bodies with Devin and the Doc.
We're at it again.
And that's right. So Devin Brady is the bodybuilder and extremely amazing bodybuilding coach.
Thank you.
And I am the chiropractor. And so today we're going to kind of change it up just a little bit. We're still going to talk about back muscles and shaping the back and getting that tapered and all of that. But we're going to do it on the next video, which we may even film that right after this one. But today, because it's November, and this is, we're approaching the eating season where we eat and hibernate.
That's right.
And so how do we make sure that we don't undo some of the work we've been doing? Because we've been working hard. I've been working hard. He's been working very hard. And some of you have been working very hard. Some of you may be thinking, I'm going to start working hard in January. I just talked to a patient actually today. I said, she has lost over 40 pounds.
Great.
So I said, great, you're doing a great job. Have you lifted any weights? She said, no. I said, well, you got to lift some weights, because if you can squat down and get up with a little bit of weight in your hands, your own body weight will never be a problem.
Right.
You won't be one of those people out there who's older and can't get out of a chair. And she is a little older, not a lot,
Sure.
but, just older. And so she said, okay, I'll start lifting weights January. I said, why January? Why don't you start now? So we're going to talk to you about what you should eat, how you should eat, how you should approach the holidays. And most importantly, and I really do think this is the most important part, we want you to enjoy your holidays. I don't want you to be miserable when everybody else is enjoying themselves. In fact, we want you to enjoy it more than them, because you'll have no guilt because you're doing all the things right. So,
that's right.
So how do we do that? So tell me what some of the mistakes people are making when they approach, Thanksgiving and Christmas.
That's right. I mean, most of you are just now finishing up the remnants of your children's Halloween candy, just in time to turn around and be staring down the barrel of Thanksgiving. So, the dreaded holiday season is going to be quickly upon us all before we realize it. And, when you look at the common mistakes and fallbacks and challenges that people have is, there is a way to do it that's going to kind of limit or mitigate. Because again, the approach that Dr. Amir and I are taking is not to sit here and wag our fingers and say, none of you can have a Thanksgiving, none of you can have, a portion of the things that you enjoy, and the sweets and the high carbs and the starchy carbs and the proteins and the gravies and the stuffings and all of the things that make Thanksgiving. It's about understanding it, meeting it head on and saying, this is what is likely going to happen. We're all going to be offered an abundance of food in these high calories. And so given that, how can we enjoy these things? How can we take part in these things, but also limit or mitigate the negative effects that they can have? And this is really important for those people that are engaging in some sort of physical routine. They're looking out for the kind of poundages they're going to be putting on during the holidays. They're trying to mitigate or limit all of that effects of the holiday season on their waistline. And this also goes for people that aren't doing anything. What can they do to stop the holidays from sliding them even further in the wrong direction? Because these sort of things can apply to everybody.
Right.
So the biggest things that I come across are, people just completely lose portion control. That's one of the biggest issues. And I use my own family as an example.
Loosen the belt.
Exactly. A lot of elastic bands come out in November, it's sweatpants season. And the fact of the matter is that it comes to the fact that everyone is there. It's a family style. It's a buffet style. You just have the plate or the bowl there and you just go for it, so it's this big buffet line and you're just scooping and going and moving, and people just lose control. And the fact of the matter is a lot of people, myself included, using my own family as an example, our day really centers around that meal. So some people think, and falsely so, that maybe that should be the only meal they eat that day. Because most people are like, look, I know I'm going to go crazy, I'm not going to be able to control myself. So that really puts them in a difficult position.
Right.
And here's a great example for those watching. How more likely are you to reach for something in the grocery store that you wouldn't usually go for if you go into the grocery store starving?
Exactly.
How many people do you hear say that I'm never coming back here and shopping hungry again? Because you get in trouble. Because you're thinking with your impulses, you're thinking with your stomach. Thanksgiving dinner is no different. So what I would say is challenge everybody to to not eliminate nutrients or caloric intake around that meal, but build meals up to it. So yes, eat smaller portions, eat cleaner things, knowing that you're going to indulge in that Thanksgiving meal. Have a breakfast like you normally would. Have small meals so that just take the edge off. So by the time that meal rolls around, you're not ravenously hungry, and you're not just going to start doing the hungry hippo approach and taking everything you possibly can. But if you're not starving, you'll be like, okay, I just want a little bit of this. I want a little bit of this. And all of a sudden, portion control starts to come back into the picture.
Right.
So that's a big one. And then another one I want to touch on before I turn the table over to you would be timing. You know, when are people sitting down to have this meal? We understand that calories serve a purpose as function, right? The calories are converted to energy, and that's what we use to function. So the question is there a way that we can have our Thanksgiving meal or our calorie dense meal earlier in the day? So the earlier we can have it in the day, the better, because that gives us an opportunity to put those calories to use later in the afternoon and into the evening to help burn some of that stuff off.
Right.
So I really feel for the folks that, again, this isn't always in our control. Sometimes we're being hosted by other people. You know, we're relying on their generosity and hospitality, and they set the time that the meal will be, and that's fine.
Right.
But if you do have control over it, try to slide it earlier. So that'll give you a chance to indulge, have a good time, and then, gosh forbid, you know, go out for a run or a jog or engage in a pickup football game in the backyard. You know, something that happens that can help put those calories to use.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are some great tips, and obviously the last one that I would throw on top of that, along with nutrient timing, is do something active early in the day. You know, wake up. If you're used to having a physical routine as part of your plan, get to work.
Take a turkey trot.
Take a turkey trot. Exactly. Because what that's going to do is it's going to ramp up the metabolism. It's going to start getting you in more of a nutrient partitioning, calorie using mode, so that you're going to more efficiently burn the calories that you take in on that big plate during your sit down Thanksgiving meal.
Yeah, I mean, you know, sugar in the body gets stored as glycogen. Glycogen is stored in your muscles and your liver.
Correct, yes.
Right, so the muscles that are working are going to want to use up that glycogen first before they tap into the fat stores. Now, fat can be burned as energy too. Right. But if you have high octane, ready to use fuel right in front of you, you're not going to use the fat, right? So what if, like Devin said, you do some intense exercise before the meal? In fact, Tim Ferriss, who wrote the book, The 4-Hour Work Week and the 4-Hour Body, and he's working on some other stuff. He did some research. He said if you do 100 consecutive air squats, you burn up most of your glycogen. Right. So, you know, especially if you're going to eat a carbohydrate-filled meal. Right. Potatoes, you know, pie, and cheesecake. Stop me.
I'm getting hungry. Exactly. This is a bad idea.
We'll resume after we eat.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so just, you know, right before the meal, right before it, spend like 3 to 4 minutes doing air squats. Just squat down and up, down and up, down 100 times. Count it. And you will, first off, you'll get some tingling and some burning in your muscles.
You might not even be able to make it to the dinner table. There you go, problem solved.
But everything you eat is now going to be used to replace the glycogen that you just burned up. Yeah. So the carbohydrate isn't going to get converted to fat, which is wonderful. And obviously there will be plenty of protein in that turkey whatever choice of meat you have. So, so definitely working out. Now, tell me this. What's the impact of one horribly awful day?
So that's a really good question. And you know, for those of you familiar with perhaps the traditional bodybuilding diet, I can use myself as an example. Since I started, you know, really aggressively training again with the general goal of body weight gain and specifically muscle mass gain, the nutritionist who I work closely with, who again I hope joins us on a future episode and has a chance to introduce to your audience, has specifically designed one meal a day where I get to eat literally whatever I want. So for me, that happens to be in a 7-day period that falls on a Sunday evening. So, and I kept asking him, I said, hey, are you sure? Is there any limitations? Are there any sort of macro goals you want me to reach with this meal? And he said, hey, go crazy. You know, whatever you want, it's one meal. So It's not the idea. We're working away from the idea of a cheat day because that can very quickly get out of control. We're talking about a cheat meal, which is literally one window within a 7-day period in which kind of the chains come off, and you can do whatever you want and indulge. So this meal, for me, I'm a old-fashioned guy. I love burgers and fries. So typically for me, I'll get like 2 burgers and an order of fries. And so calorie-wise, when I make sure that I'm every other meal that I put in my body for the remainder of the week is super dialed in. It's pre-measured. It's calculated. It's all these things. So if you prepare calories to calories, this cheat meal that I take in is probably
2,000 calories.
Probably 2,000 calories in a single meal. So what happens? So I can tell you from intense, intimate experience that after having this meal, typically when I wake up on Monday morning, I am blown up. So I get the impression, the feeling of just my glycogen stores are maxed out. So the muscle volume and the muscle cells really swell as a result of that big spike in calories, carbohydrates, and in many cases sodium, because that manipulates water, where water is going in the cells or outside of the cells. So very often I will wake up on a Monday morning and I'll look at myself in the mirror as I go in to use the restroom, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, I'm vascular, because of the salt, big, like just feel full, and I can see the effects of those calories. So it's pros and cons. It's pros because it can scratch a mental itch. We're all human. We all have weaknesses. So for us to be on a very strict diet all the time, it's a nice little break, and you can say, hey, I can do something because I earned it. And if I do not execute the week, the cheat meal is the first thing to go. And I know, and I have to be serious with myself and say, if I didn't do enough, if I didn't hold myself accountable, I take away the privilege of that Sunday night meal. And I turn it into something clean, something preordained, something made. It's going to be more in balance with my macros. But assuming that I execute that week, I reward myself with that meal. And there's also a lot of science recently that supports the idea of your body ramping as long as everything else is clean and a cheat meal is being used as a functional cheat meal. There is science that supports the fact that your metabolic output will actually rise to meet the spike in calories. So let's just say that one meal in a week, I take in 2,000 calories in a meal, so my metabolism ramps up to actually meet that need, and then assuming that my diet returns to completely clean, there is that time where the metabolism has raised, my nutrient intake has returned to normal, and there's this catch-up period. So for a few days after, a day or two after that, I'm actually burning more calories more efficiently because my body was like, whoa, oh, this isn't a normal thing. We were ramping up to meet the increased need, but now you're back to normal. So some people experience weight loss after a day or two after a cheat meal because their body's just more efficiently burning the calories. So assuming everything else is clean, Thanksgiving can be that for some people. I intend on it replacing my cheat meal for the week, and hopefully experiencing those same benefits as a result.
You also get a good nap after.
Yes. Thank you, tryptophan. Right.
That's right. So the thing is, we usually have the Thanksgiving meal, but then you take a small break and then the dessert comes out.
Yes.
So that's another 1,000 calories most likely.
It certainly can be.
On top of the 2,000 calories. And again, if it's just one day, I think it's okay. But then the problem is, like, you have the leftovers. And you want to get through the leftovers, so you do double servings to get through them faster. So and if you ate earlier, then you're gonna eat another Thanksgiving meal later in the day. And what'll happen is then the next day, maybe the metabolism picking up increases your hunger. Is that possible?
Absolutely.
So now you gotta have more discipline.
Yeah, and I think you hit so many really good points right on the head there. I mean, the leftover craze is one that really hits a lot of people. I mean, they're just, I know, again, I remember being a kid and eating what we used to call Thanksgiving for a week after Thanksgiving. And we would just parse the bags of leftovers out and put them out on the counter and just keep going and just take, again, it's okay when you're young, your metabolism is very different, your energy output's very different, but as we age, it's just not going to work all the time. So the last thing I would advocate for is the destruction of food. I don't want to see food go to waste ever, but we just have to be smart. We have to be smart. I mean, the fact of the matter is we are engaging during this time of year, we tend to engage in a of a culture of overindulgence.
Right.
We make too much food,
Yeah.
you know, so then we eat too much food, and then we save too much food.
Yeah, you know, I was listening to somebody talk, and I can't remember who it was, maybe a Tony Robbins type person.
Sure.
And they talked about us turning ourselves into the human garbage disposal.
Right.
And the scenario is this, where, you know, like I've had this told me a few times where they go, hey, why don't you eat that last bite? And I go, no, I'm full. They go, but I'm gonna have to throw it away if you don't eat it. Oh,
Right.
okay, I'll eat it. I'll eat it so
Right.
you don't throw it away. But
Right.
what are we're still throwing it away. It's the same thing. It wasn't needed anyways.
Right.
But you're
Right.
basically telling me you'd rather me be the garbage disposal unit than the thing in the sink.
That's a good
Throw it
fair
in the
point.
garbage disposal.
That's
The same thing happens to it.
that's
It's
a
gonna
fair
get
point.
burned up, except when you put it in me, now you got a sick person to deal with later.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, we're not garbage disposal units.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I wish there was more, you know, more ways, more avenues, more resources out there to perhaps engage in some of those ways and take some of that excess food, because we know it just happens. I mean, how many of us, our houses are filled with leftovers as a result of the holidays, and so just be smart with it, give it away, you know,
Yeah.
make sure it goes to somebody,
Yeah.
and you know, and again, like in my household as an example, we like to partition it out. We don't like one person to be stuck with. We know how tough leftovers can be on everybody, on their waistlines, on their discipline, on their diet program. So we just try to make sure that everyone takes their share, you know, spread it amongst everybody and make sure it gets utilized in a timely fashion. But other than that, if you're going to rely on leftovers, be smart about it.
Yeah.
You know, don't make leftovers every one of your meals for the next few days.
Right.
Like, you've got to mix. If you're going to have those heavy calorie, heavy starch foods, mix and match. Have the clean with the dirty. You know, like, not all calories are created equal. So save yourself maybe one small leftover meal each day, and then everything else super clean. Try to control it as clean as you can.
Now, what do people look forward to? I mean, are you looking forward to the idea of eating a lot of food, or is it the taste?
Right.
I would say it's probably a taste, right?
Probably, yeah.
The reason we like food is because of how it tastes.
Right.
Right? Now, and then the reason we eat a lot of it is because we want to keep tasting that food. So how about
Right.
this? Because there's research, there's data, and look it up because I don't have the citations for all this stuff. But this is a fact. People who eat slower are typically thinner, lower body fat.
Yeah.
So what if you ate slower? You get to taste all the great food, right? And it takes you longer to go through the first plate you filled up.
Sure.
And by the time you're done, you may even be tired of eating because it took so long to eat.
Sure.
You know, because a lot of times, what do? We go, hey, I'm definitely going for seconds. So you're going to swallow the first serving, you know, really fast.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can go get your seconds, and now you eat slow.
Sure.
Eat the first plate slow.
That's right.
And eat really, really slow. Chew your food. You know, some people say chew 40 times, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's liquid by the time.
You should be having a smoothie, a Thanksgiving smoothie.
That's right. And by the way, it's probably exhausting to sit there and count to 40 every time you put something in your mouth.
Yeah.
So we'll say 30 times.
Okay.
Just kidding. 26. We have 25.
That's right.
We can negotiate, but just chew more.
Yeah.
You know, because digestion starts in the mouth. So the more you digest in your mouth, the less work the digestive tract has to do, the better you absorb that food more properly. So eat slow and make it a habit of always eating slow, not just on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and I really like that point, and it's one that I hadn't thought of, and I want to piggyback on it with one more point. Is that's probably my biggest, and I'll be the first to admit, in my family, I hear that a lot. I mean, since I was a teenager, I've always heard did you even taste it? You know, just, I'm a fast eater. You know, just because my metabolism is fast, I'm accustomed to eating 6 to 8 small meals a day. So for me, eating is more of a job. It's not something I do for enjoyment necessarily, more as much as function. You know, I need to give myself certain calories and certain breakdowns so that I can perform the way I need to perform. But my problem is, and Dr. Amir, you hit a great point, is I have trouble flipping that switch when it comes to the holidays, when it comes to times where meals are more about the experience, more about being with your family, sharing time, sharing friends, you know, sharing stories, and food is kind of the focal piece of that. I have a difficulty saying, okay, this isn't my normal meal of chicken and rice and vegetables. I can slow down. I can enjoy myself. And what I'll piggyback off of Dr. Amir's point is, your stomach works by sending feedback. There's hormones at place. There's signals at place. It's elastic tissue. And it takes time to fully send the appropriate signals. So my point being is that if you eat quickly, you can actually outpace your stomach's ability to send the satiety signal of saying stop eating. So that's why so many people eat themselves literally uncomfortable. Is because they're eating too fast, and because if you eat slower, you allow your stomach the chance to send you the appropriate signals that it's getting filled up appropriately, and thus satiate the hunger. So a lot of people will just eat, they'll plow through plate 1 so quickly that their body hasn't had a chance to even process what they've eaten, and they're a lot more full than they realize, and then they're on to portion 2 or an extra side or a little bit more appetizer or a little bit more bread, and before they know it, they're the ones, laid out, sprawled, your uncle's sprawled out on the couch with moans and wails just because he needs some sort of medical intervention because he's eaten too much.
I always miss the third quarter of every football game. You sleep through the third quarter, wake up for the fourth quarter, get the sugar high, watch the next game.
That's right, exactly right. So again, like Dr. Amir was saying, slow it down. There's a lot of benefits that can come from slowing it down, and not just enjoying the taste of the food and making it more about being present in the moment, sharing that time with family and friends, and it also gives your body a chance to catch up appropriately to what you're doing and the rate at which you're eating and how much you're eating from a volume perspective as well.
Fact of the matter is, when you enjoy yourself, and I think you'll enjoy yourself more when you eat slow, when you enjoy yourself, you put your body in a state, hormonally, neurologically in a state to receive food properly and process that food properly. Much less likely to gain additional fat when you eat with the right mindset, being around friends, enjoying yourself, laughing, talking, enjoying, eating slow, letting it take time. It'll be healthier and more beneficial for you. I wrote about it in my book called The French Paradox. Well, the book is called The Stress-Proof Life, but the section on the French paradox talks about why the French are completely immune to heart disease and obesity. If you go to France, you don't see that. And that's because they socialize when they eat. They eat slow. Every meal lasts at least an hour and a half. Sometimes 2 hours.
And obviously a lot of European cultures put a lot of emphasis on rest, vacation, time off, reducing your general stress levels.
That's right.
So it's much more about, that there's much more of that mental aspect to just life in general. They understand that there's time for work, there's time for relaxation, and they put the equal importance of both. And it pays off.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I guess we take these tips, and just hopefully this helps you to kind of keep, maybe again, we're doing this early enough in the month of November that's going to give everybody a chance to take in what we've talked about, see how it affects them on a personal level, and see how they can hopefully prepare for the holidays.
And the gym's open on Thanksgiving Day, right?
I believe it is. I believe Christmas Day is probably the only day. We're likely going to have abbreviated hours, but we'll close early just so we can all be with our family and friends. But I'm sure we're going to be open, and we'll broadcast our hours well in advance of the actual date, so no one's going to be taken by surprise. But come in, visit us, get on one of our treadmills, start burning those, get that metabolism ramped up, burn that glycogen out, and that way you can put that Thanksgiving meal to good use.
Yeah, we'll see you at the gym. Remember, if you mention the video or mention us, you get 7 days for free.
That's it.
We'll see you there.
Take care.
That's good.